Ayotte.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Dr. Hicks. Thank you, Mr. Cholet, for being here today and for your service and future service to our country. Dr. Hicks, I wanted to ask you about an issue. I had the chance to visit the Philippines in January, and it was also an issue raised by my constituents. It was about an Air Force base, Clark Air Force Base, a cemetery at that Air Force Base where more than 8,300 United States service members and their loved ones have been buried. And in fact, that cemetery was maintained by the Air Force for 90 years until 1991. And in 1991, after the Air Force vacated Clark Air Force Base and there was a volcanic eruption there, they left the cemetery, and then it was not maintained at all until, unfortunately, in 1994, there was a group of private citizens that came forward, and I certainly want to commend those private citizens that did that to maintain this area where 8,000 of our servicemen and their dependents and women were buried, and those who sacrificed for us. And certainly they deserve our gratitude, but I believe that it's a responsibility for us when we have our veterans, that they deserve to be treated with dignity and respect. So I wanted to ask you, don't want to understand that you're coming into this position and not to rehash what the Air Force should or shouldn't have done. I actually believe that there's other areas of the federal government that have responsibility to maintain this cemetery. What I wanted to hear from you is, notwithstanding your other responsibilities, that you'll ensure that there's coordination in the future. For example, if we close bases overseas, that we coordinate with other agencies within the federal government to make sure that where our veterans are buried, that those cemeteries are properly maintained, consistent with the dignity that our veterans and their families deserve. And if that is something that you could assure me that in your responsibilities you would make sure that we did have coordination going forward, that we would fulfill our responsibility to those veterans.
Senator, I will assure you of that. I believe, as you have stated, that the dignity of our veterans and certainly our buried Americans are vital, and that as we close bases or move our global posture, that is an issue we should be addressing in our considerations. Thank you.
And I've also introduced a bill with Senator Begich that is a bill that will ensure that those 8,000 plus men and women and their family members that are buried at the Clark's Veterans Cemetery are properly, that those facilities are maintained with the dignity that they should be. And I would love to send you a copy of that just to get your feedback on it, Dr. Hicks.
I welcome that, Senator.